Again, would you now please welcome Baroness Nicholson?
Your Excellencies, colleagues and dear friends, it's my very great pleasure to welcome you to our 10th conference in this magnificent building. You know its antiquity, you know its heritage, and you know it is at the heart of the City of London, which is the financial centre of the globe. We are indeed fortunate to be here. It is my great happiness to introduce Sir David Wooten, Lord Mayor in Lockham Tenens, who opened our conference when he was Lord Mayor in 2012. So we have a real friend in Sir David, and he has been close to our work all the way through our meetings here and elsewhere. We've had a very, very happy year in IBBC, and despite the miseries and difficulties of COVID, I have to say that IBBC, thanks to its wonderful executive committee, the whole membership, and the team headed by Christophe Michel, we have grown and developed and firmed up the base of IBBC, and it is, as the Department of Industry and Trade says here in the UK, it is the very, very best council that they know. Well, that, of course, is entirely due to all of you. And our commitment, our privilege, and our pleasure is to support you in your commercial, trade, and educational work, and in the creative industries, so that you can be ever more successful. With that, let me introduce Sir David Wooten, Lord Mayor of the City of London in Lockham Tenens.
Ministers, Governor, Your Excellencies, Baroness Nicholson, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is David Wooten. I was Lord Mayor of London 10 years ago, and as a former Lord Mayor myself, I'm delighted to be representing the Lord Mayor of the City of London this morning. And on behalf of the Lord Mayor, may I offer you all a very warm welcome to the City of London, as I have had the honour of doing on a number of previous occasions, not least doing what I'm doing now, opening this Iraq Day when I was Lord Mayor 10 years ago. We are delighted to be hosting the 10th Iraq Day here at Mansion House, the IBBC Spring Conference 2022, a sign of the importance of the relationship between Iraq and the United Kingdom. This building, Mansion House, built in the 18th century and funded by the merchants and traders of London, has stood in the heart of the city for more than 250 years. It has served, as it does today, as a place of welcome for businesses and for international visitors. This room, which is called the Egyptian Hall due to the design and position of the columns, has been the site of many important political and international business gatherings, including, of course, the last Iraq Day held here before the pandemic struck. So we're delighted that you are able to join us here today once again. We know that Iraq is at another important crossroads in its recent history with the election of a new government last autumn, which is now dealing with the challenges of the impact of COVID, rising prices and international supply problems, challenges that will be familiar to many countries. But we also know that there are great opportunities for Iraq, particularly if it can continue to improve, develop and reform its financial system and business environment. The availability of finance, or the lack of availability, can be a major barrier to bilateral trade and to investment in major projects in Iraq. But with reform, there is the potential for a very bright future. A number of IBBC member companies such as BP, GE and Shell are working with the Iraqi government on projects to decarbonize energy production and to bring renewable energy into the mix. And it is encouraging to see the significant growth of education and training provision in Iraq from UK-based institutions. It is very welcome news that City and Guilds, founded here in the city 140 years ago, is entering the Iraqi market to offer training and apprenticeships, and that others, such as University of London, are planning to do the same. The City of London, with its comprehensive offer of financial, legal and professional services, its global connections and its strong links with the Middle East and the Gulf, is well placed to work with Iraq on strengthening its economy. I hope that we will be able to welcome you back to Mansion House in the future. And for today, I wish you all a very successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, would you now please welcome the Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, His Excellency Mustafa Khalid Wakif.
أصحاب المعالي والسيادة، السيدات والسادة الحضور، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني اللقاء بهذا الجمع من المتخصصين في الشؤون المالية والمصرفية في مدينة لندن، لا سيما ونحن نلتقي حضورياً بعد وقت طويل من الاجتماعات واللقاءات عن بعد، إذ إنه لم تنتهي الجائحة بشكل نهائي ولم نزل نعاني من الآثار التي تسببت بها في الجوانب المالية والنقدية، فضلاً عن الآثار الاقتصادية، إضافة إلى الأزمة الحالية بين روسيا وأوكرانيا، وهو ما يزيد من مسؤولياتنا التشاركية في مواجهة تلك الأزمة من أجل عبورها بأقل الخسائر الممكنة. يواجه العالم تحدياً مهماً يتعلق بالقدرة على تحقيق الأمن الغذائي وتعزيز المخزون الاستراتيجي الذي يؤمن مواجهة المخاطر المحتملة نتيجة الصدمات الاقتصادية الخارجية وآثارها على شعوب المنطقة، لا سيما بعد التغييرات المتسارعة في الجوانب البيئية، فضلاً عن تزايد نسبة الوعي بالحقوق المجتمعية، ما يجعل الحكومات أمام تحدي الموازنة بين الأدوار الوظيفية المتزايدة للقطاع العام في الجانب الاجتماعي من جهة، ودعم القطاع الخاص وفعاليته الاقتصادية من جهة أخرى. إن هذه التحديات بحاجة للتعاطي معها بشكل غير تقليدي، مع تنسيق أكبر بين السياسات الاقتصادية في كل بلد، لا سيما السياستين المالية والنقدية، وتعزيز دور المنظمات المالية والنقدية الدولية بما يسهم في مواجهة تلك التحديات. لقد نجح البنك المركزي العراقي في تحقيق الاستقرار الاقتصادي في ظل تحديات كبيرة واجهت الاقتصاد العراقي منذ عام 2014 ولغاية الآن، عبر مجموعة من الإجراءات والسياسات التي اتخذها، أبرزها منح تيسر مالي للدولة من خلال خصم حوالات الخزينة منذ عام 2015 ولغاية عام 2021 بلغت 44 تريليون دينار عراقي، ما يقارب 30 مليار دولار، لتمويل عجز الموازنة العامة وضمان استقرار الاقتصاد الكلي. كذلك إطلاق مبادرات تمويلية تقدر ب 15 تريليون دينار، أي ما يقارب 12 مليار دولار، لتمويل مشاريع القطاع الخاص الكبيرة والمتوسطة والصغيرة عن طريق المصارف. إطلاق مبادرة لتشجيع التحول إلى الطاقة المتجددة ومواجهة التغيرات المناخية من خلال تخصيص مبادرة مقدارها 1 تريليون دينار، ما يعادل 700 مليون دولار، لتمويل شراء المنظومات توليد الطاقة الكهرباء عن طريق المصادر المتجددة للطاقة للأفراد والشركات بشروط ميسرة وأسعار فائدة مخفضة. إدارة السيولة النقدية في الاقتصاد باستخدام أدوات السياسة النقدية المختلفة لضبط المستوى التضخم واستقرار المستوى العام للأسعار وسعر الصرف. كذلك تعزيز الاستقرار المالي من خلال دعم تأسيس شركة لضمان الودائع ملكية مختلطة وشركة لضمان القروض المصرفية شركة خاصة. تعزيز البنية التحتية للقطاع المصرفي لا سيما المتعلقة بنظام المدفوعات الإلكتروني لتعزيز استخدامات أدوات الدفع الإلكتروني وزيادة مستوى الشمول المالي، إذ تبنى البنك المركزي العراقي استراتيجية جديدة لنظام المدفوعات الإلكتروني منذ عام 2022 تهدف توسيع استخدام أدوات الدفع الإلكتروني وتقليل استخدام الكاش في تسويات المبادلات. السيدات والسادة الأفاضل، لقد أسهمت هذه السياسات في تعزيز استقرار القطاع الاقتصادي عموماً والقطاع المصرفي بشكل خاص، وشهدت مؤشراته الرئيسية نمواً موجباً خلال العام 2021، فقد ارتفعت إجمالي الموجودات بنسبة 15% والائتمان المقدم بنسبة 16%، وإجمالي الودائع بنسبة 12%، ويأتي ذلك مع التزام تام للبنك المركزي العراقي بتطبيق معايير الامتثال في مكافحة غسل الأموال وتمويل الإرهاب. وقد تم اتخاذ العديد من الإجراءات بداية من إصدار قانون مكافحة غسل الأموال عام 2015 مروراً بعدد من التعليمات الخاصة بذلك، وليس آخرها خروج العراق من لائحة الاتحاد الأوروبي للدول عالية المخاطر خلال هذا العام. إن القطاع المصرفي العراقي ينطوي على عديد من فرص الاستثمار والتطوير، لا سيما في مجال تطوير نظام المدفوعات الإلكتروني وتطوير أداء المصارف بما يضمن زيادة مستوى العمق المالي. وعلى الرغم من زيادة عدد فروع المصارف الأجنبية العاملة في القطاع المصرفي العراقي إلى 12 مصرف، وهي تشكل بحدود 15% من إجمالي عدد المصارف العراقية، إلا أن السوق العراقية قادرة على استيعاب المصارف أخرى فضلاً عن فرص التعاون والشراكة مع المصارف الدولية. أكرر شكري وسعادتي بالمشاركة بهذا الملتقى، وأتمنى للجميع السلامة وتجاوز الأزمتين الصحية والاقتصادية بنجاح، وأن نلتقي مجدداً بخير إن شاء الله. شكراً جزيلاً.
And now will you please welcome Her Excellency Taif Sami, the Deputy Minister of Finance from the Government of Iraq.
السيدات السادة الحضور، مع حفظ الألقاب والمناصب، أحييكم بأطيب عبارات التحايا وأتمنى لكم أوقات سعيدة ونتائج مهمة تضاف إلى مسيرتكم الفاعلة في معالجة المشكلات والتحديات التي تواجه بلادنا سيما في الظروف الراهنة، وإن انعكاسات الحروب على تطبيقات أهداف التنمية المستدامة تؤثر سلباً على حياة مجتمعنا وخصوصاً في العراق الذي يواجه ظاهرتي التصحر والتغيير الجغرافي الذي أصبح تحدياً خطيراً في الوقت الحاضر، حيث طرأ ارتفاع غير مسبوق بدرجات الحرارة وشحة المياه التي تعتمد عليها القطاعات الزراعية وتربية الحيوانات، فضلاً عن سياسات الدول المجاورة أزاء تقنين تدفق المياه وتقليل مستوى الإطلاق المائي. أيها السادة الحضور، نود أن نشير إلى أنه خلال عام 2021 تحسنت إيرادات النفط الخام المصدر عالمياً نتيجة لارتفاع أسعار النفط بمعدل $68 للبرميل الواحد بدلاً من السعر المخطط له ضمن الموازنة المقررة من قبل مجلس النواب والمدرجة بقانون الموازنة لسنة 2021، بالإضافة إلى تعديل سعر صرف الدينار العراقي مقابل الدولار ليصبح 1450 دينار لكل دولار بدلاً من 1180 دينار لكل دولار، مما ساعد وزارة المالية على تمويل الإنفاق الجاري بمعدل 92 تريليون دينار والإنفاق الاستثماري النفطي وغير النفطي بمعدل 20 تريليون دينار تقريباً. مع بداية عام 2022 ونتيجة لعدم تمكن وزارة المالية من رفع مشروع قانون الموازنة لعام 2022 المعد من قبل لجنة استراتيجية الموازنة للمدى المتوسط 2022-2024 والتي ترأسها السيد وزير المالية، أصدر وزير المالية إعمام بشأن الصرف بنسبة 1:12 من إجمالي المصروف الفعلي لوحدات الإنفاق فيما يخص النفقات التشغيلية ووفقاً لذرعات العمل المنجزة بالنسبة للمشاريع الاستثمارية، إلا أن ظروف الحرب بين روسيا وأوكرانيا أدت إلى ارتفاع الأسعار عالمياً وخصوصاً مفردات البطاقة التموينية والأدوية والسلع الأخرى، وقد طالبت الوزارات بتمويل كامل المصروف الفعلي لسنة سابقة، وبدورها قامت وزارة المالية بتأمين التمويل، إلا أن المصروف الفعلي لسنة 2021 في غياب قانون الموازنة سنة 22 ولكون الحكومة تصريف أعمال حال دون إمكانية وزارة المالية بتمويل أكثر مما تم صرفه في العام السابق. لذلك بناء على طلب مجلس النواب من قبل وزير المالية تم إعداد مشروع قانون الأمن الغذائي الطارئ والتنمية لحماية شريحة الفقراء وتأمين الغذاء والدواء وغيرها من مستحقات الفلاحين والمزارعين والمشاريع الاستثمارية الجديدة والمتلكئة، وبالفعل تم إعداد المشروع وجرى تعديله من قبل مجلس الوزراء بتضمين فقرات قبول المنح والتبرعات وكذلك إعفاء الضرائب كل كافة القروض من الضرائب والجمارك، إلا أنه بحدود وفرة قد تتحقق خلال هذا العام نتيجة ارتفاع الأسعار النفط عالميا بمقدار 25 تريليون لا تتجاوز هاي الوفرة لتأمين هذه المتطلبات، إلا أنه واجهنا أنه المحكمة الاتحادية للأسف أنه طعنت بالقانون وأشارت بأن الحكومة هي تصريف أعمال ليس لها الحق في تقديم مثل هذا المشروع. حاليا قام مجلس النواب مجددا خلال الأسبوع السابق بتقديم مشروع الأمن الغذائي من قبل اللجنة المالية، وتمت قراءته القراءة الأولى، وإن شاء الله في الأسبوع القادم سيتم قراءة القراءة الثانية تضمن هذا المشروع تأمين تقريبا 35% للمشاريع الاستثمارية و35% لمفردات الأمن الغذائي وشبكة الحماية الاجتماعية، وكذلك قبول المنح والتبرعات وإعفائها من الضرائب، وسيتم أيضا إعفاء المزارعين من الفوائد المترتبة على بذمتهم، وكذلك أيضا تخويل السيد ومجلس الوزراء بتوزيع تخصيصات المشاريع الاستثمارية وفق ما يقرره مجلس الوزراء. لأنه هذا لا يعني أنه بتشريع مثل هذا القانون لا يعني أن هناك مشروع قانون موازن لعام 2022 سيتم تهيئته جنبا إلى جنب لهذا المشروع. ففي حالة تشريع هذا المشروع سيتم إيقاف مشروع الأمن الغذائي وإدخال ما تم تمويله وتخصيصه في مشروع الأمن الغذائي ضمن مشروع القانون 22. سيتضمن مشروع قانون موازنة عام 2022 الرواتب والتقاعد والعلاوات والترقيات وشبكة الحماية الاجتماعية والديون الداخلية والخارجية والفوائد المترتبة عليها، وسيتم تأمين تقريبا 51 تريليون دينار لغرض تمويل مشاريع مستمرة وجديدة يتم تغطيتها من الخزينة العامة نتيجة ارتفاع أسعار النفط، بضمنها حدود 10 تريليون هي قروض أجنبية لتمويل المشاريع، بالإضافة إلى تمويل البطاقة التموينية ومستحقات استيراد الغاز والطاقة والمستثمر المحلي والأدوية ودعم المزارعين وتسويق الحنطة والشلب، ومستحقات سنوات سابقة للمشاريع الاستثمارية التي أنجزت ولم يتم دفع مستحقاتها للمقاولين. لغرض تأمين هذه الوفرة ستتحقق اللي هي نتيجة اعتماد السعر بحدود تقريبا $90. ولا يخفى على حضراتكم أن الأزمة الغذائية تلوح بخطر على الطبقات الفقيرة، لأن مصادر تصدير الحبوب تمر بظروف حرب شديدة ومعقدة، مما يجعل مجتمعاتنا بحاجة ماسة إلى الحنطة بالذات، لأنها المادة الأساسية لحياتنا اليومية. وقد سبق وأن اتخذت الحكومة السياسات الإصلاحية من خلال الورقة البيضاء تضمنت إجراءات عديدة استهدفت الواقع الاقتصادي والمالي للخروج من الأزمات، بالإضافة إلى أن الورقة البيضاء أيضا تضمنت إصلاح المصارف الحكومية من خلال استمرار بعمل الحوكمة وتطبيق النظام الشامل، وكذلك هيكلية المصارف وتعديل النظام الداخلي، وهو الآن يعني من مشروع معد إلى لدى مجلس الدولة بمراحل النهائية. لذا أننا نتطلع إلى مزيد من التعاون معكم أيها الأصدقاء الأعزاء، وإنها المناسبة طيبة أن نتبادل الأفكار حول البرامج الاقتصادية والإجراءات التي تدعم سياستنا المالية والنقدية وتوفر للمجتمع والدولة فرص التقدم وتجاوز العقبات التي تحول في الوقت الحاضر دون تطبيق خطة التنمية الوطنية المستدامة، وهي عقبات تتعلق بالقدرة المالية اللازمة لتغطية المشاريع والبرامج المعتمدة في الخطة الوطنية، وما تتطلبه ظروف المرحلة الحرجة التي نمر بها من تعاون فني وتكنولوجي يتناسب مع استعدادنا الذاتي لتحقيق الأهداف الجوهرية التي جاءت بها خطة التنمية المستدامة 2015-2030. نشكر لكم أيها الأصدقاء هذه الدعوة للمشاركة في أعمال مؤتمرنا التي تأتي في ظروف استثنائية إقليمية ودولية، ونحن على ثقة من أنها ستضيف لنا خبرات وتصورات جديدة تدعم مسيرة البناء والتقدم في العراق. أتمنى لكم الخير والسعادة ونشاطاتكم التوعية المتميزة بكل تقدم والنجاح، وشكرا.
And now, please welcome to the lectern the Minister of the Iraq Council of Representatives, His Excellency Gharib, is it? I hope, Askar.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدات والسادة الحضور، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أود أقدم شكر واطمئنان البارنة وجميع القائمين على عقد هذا المؤتمر الخاص بمجلس الأعمال العراقي بريطاني، كما أود تقديم شكر للسفارة العراقية في لندن لجهودهم كبيرة في هذا المؤتمر. الواقع الاقتصادي العراقي في وقت راهن بحاجة إلى تعزيز القدرات الاقتصادية عبر سبل جيدة لتحقيق للعراق نمو صحي ومستدام في مدة متوسط لبعيد، وعلم من أهمية بمكان لتذكير الحضور الكرام ما تعرض لبلدنا العزيز العراق في السنوات الأخيرة من أزمات والتحديات الداخلية كمحاربة جماعة الإرهابية ما بين في السنوات الأخيرة من أزمات وتحديات داخلية كمحاربة جماعات الإرهابية ما بين عوام 2014 و2018، والتي انتهت بتحقيق النصر على الإرهاب وواجهت للعراق أيضا تحدي آخر تمثلت باحتجاجات السلمية انطلقت في شهر تشرين الأول من عام 2019، والتي أفرزت تداعياتها تشكيل حكومة جديدة أخذت على عاقتها تنفيذ المهام موكلة عليها لإدارة مرحلة والعمل إلى إجراء انتخابات برلمانية مبكرة التي أنجزت في عام الماضي. نهنيكم عن آثار الاقتصادية والصحية بسبب جائحة كورونا. كل هذه الأزمات والتحديات سببت في استهداف القدرات الاقتصادية وربكة الخطط والمشاريع الحكومية لإدامة زخم استمرارية لتحقيق إنجاز استراتيجيات موزعة للتطوير البنى التحتية والخدمية في العراق. واليوم بعد أن نتلاشى نسبة كبيرة من تلك الأزمات والمشاكل والتحديات ذكرها، أجدد أن الواقع العراقي الحالي مؤهل أن لتكون مركز جذب للإعمار والاستثمار الأول في منطقة الشرق الأوسط لا يسمى إذا ما أخذنا في نظر الاعتبار الاستقرار السياسي المتحقق في العراق، وفي ذلك تعافي أسعار الطاقة العالمية التي تمثل العراق أحد ركائز سوق الطاقة على مستوى الإقليمي والدولي. من هنا أستطيع أقول أن دخول الشركات الدولية عموما وبريطانية على وجه التحديث في مجال الاستثمار والإعمار على مستوى العراق ممكنة جدا في وقت راهن، كما أن دور مجلس الأعمال العراقي والبريطاني في هذه الفترة أساسية بتحقيق أموال وطموحات والمعاملة منها من خلال مد الجسور تواصل بناء علاقات ما بين العراق والحكومة البريطانية من جهة وما بين الشركات والمؤسسات البريطانية من جهة الأخرى. علاقات ما بين العراق والحكومة البريطانية من جهة وبين الشركات والمؤسسات البريطانية من جهة الأخرى لتنمية وتطوير المجالات الاقتصادية والخدمية والصحية والتجارية والصناعية والزراعية والسياحة. وفي هذا السياق لكني نائب في برلمان العراقي عن المكون التركماني أجدد نفسي أمام مسؤولية الطرق التي مناطق التركمانية في بلدنا العزيز ما يحتاجها من دعم والمساعدة إلى أرض الواقع عبر الدعوة الشركات والمؤسسات الدولية والبريطانية للاستثمار والأعمال في مناطقنا بكركوك والتلحفر والتازة وتوس خورماتو ومندلي وآملي. فهذه المناطق تفتقر بكافة الفرص النجاح والمشاريع التنموية فيها إلى اهتمام الكافي بها من أجل توظيف المقدرات والمتاحف الموجودة إلى أراضيها من قبل الزراعة والمعادن والطاقة بما في ظل البترول. فيها أيضا معالم حضارية يمكن لها أن تكون وجه السياحة للزوار والأجانب مثل قلعة الكركوك والتلحفر في حال تم بنائها وتطويرها وفوق الطراز الحديث، كما أدعو إلى مساهمة فعالة في بناء وتطوير مناطقنا في مجالات الخدمية والصحية والعمرانية والتعليمية. ونحن بدورنا سنقوم بتحديد كافة والإمكانات أمام الشركات والمؤسسات الراغبة في مساعدتنا في هذه المهام. هذا المؤتمر نجاح والتوفيق. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. النائب غريب عسكر مقرر مجلس النواب العراقي.
MP in the Iraqi Parliament.
Thank you. So can I just ask you to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, if you could put your mobile phones to flight mode or turn them off. As you saw, they do interfere with the AV system and the translations. All right, thank you very much indeed. So then moving along, would you now please welcome the Governor of Kirkuk, Mr. Rakhan Al-Jabouri.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السيدات والسادة الحضور جميعا، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في البداية نقدم الشكر والامتنان للسيدة البارونة إيما نيكولسون على هذه الدعوة وجميع القائمين على هذا المؤتمر، كما نشكر أيضا السيد عمدة المدينة لحضور هذا المؤتمر الخاص بمجلس الأعمار العراقي الوطني. كما أود تقديم شكري إلى منتسبي سفارة العراق في لندن بما قاموا به من جهد في تسهيل نجاح هذا المؤتمر. في الفترة الأخيرة كانت هناك تداعيات وتحديات مرت على العراق ومرت على كركوك أيضا، منها تدمير البنى التحتية بسبب آثار الإرهاب في مناطق جنوب غرب كركوك، شاملة قضاء الحويجة وداقوق وقدس وكازر وبيشير والرياض والعباسي
والعباسية أنزارم.
كما أننا عانينا بعد الانتصار على العصابات الإرهابية.
We suffered from COVID as well, and all these casted a shadow on all the services. And today, after our victory on terrorism and after the end of COVID, there is a great opportunity for development, for the development and also in the development of in this city. Everyone knows that these implications has depleted the capabilities of the city, and it had a great impact on the infrastructure. Now we are rebuilding again because it is destroyed.
Today,
now Kirkuk is free from COVID, free from terrorism. Now it is a place for attraction, for investment, and for building, and as the stability, the political stability that we have, and also the prices of oil has increased. So Kirkuk is a very important city in Iraq and has many potential. Like we had many resources, it's a fertile land, and also there's great expertise of the companies, or the British companies in Kirkuk, because Kirkuk, in 1927, the first oil well was dug in Kirkuk by the British company, and one of the former oil minister is present here now, and who signed the contract, an assessment contract between Kirkuk and the British Petroleum, and the British Petroleum Company, they did their assessment of the wells for 2 years, and they finished their work very well, and we would like British Petroleum to come back to continue its work in developing the oil wells in Kirkuk once again, and we will do all the facilitation we can to achieve this. Also, encouraging the companies comes through a visit to this city
ولم تكن موضح الإمكانيات التي
Kirkuk didn't participate in any of the previous IBBC conferences, and now we are inviting you to come and visit the city, and we in Kirkuk we will facilitate any visit by IBBC to see the capabilities that the city has and the development opportunities. Also, now we are about to open the Kirkuk airport. All work has been finished there, and we want the investment. So that's to make sure that all the investment companies to come and stay in the city securely. And we would like to invite a delegation of British companies to come and visit the city, and to see all the investment opportunities, and to eliminate the unemployment that the city suffers from, and also for the British companies to study all the opportunities available in Kirkuk. I would like to thank you again and wish you the best of success, and I would like to thank the organizers. Thank you.
And now for our next speaker, who is the Minister of Planning from the Kurdish Regional Government, His Excellency Dr. Dara Rashid.
Good morning. Thank you for that kind introduction. Thank you to the organizer for kindly inviting KRG. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's both my pleasure and honor to be here today, to be given this opportunity to shed some lights about the Kurdistan region of Iraq and the world of business opportunities that are there for British businesses. For those of you who are not familiar with Kurdistan region, we are a federal region within the Iraq that govern a territory that is set in the Iraqi constitution. We have our own legislative, executive, and judicial branch of government, and have been part of the coalition government that have been formed in Iraq since its liberation in 2003. Our government is in continuous negotiation with the federal government on our constitutional right, and we do so in good faith, as it's our right and our desire to be part of a federal, truly democratic Iraq. It's based on this that we all have rebuilt the new Iraq. Our daily struggles in these troubled times can be immense, be the economic or security. But today, we look ahead with optimism and hope. We will wish for and work together for the broader goals of peace, stability, and growth, and prosperity across the globe. And in our session here, we will focus on the infrastructure and investment opportunities in Kurdistan region of Iraq. We in Kurdistan region are investing heavily in our infrastructure, and we aspire to European level and more specifically to British standards. But we want to get it right. Together, there are many opportunities, and let's discuss three. Firstly, despite or maybe because of the major instability in the new Levant area, the economy of the Kurdistan has maintained its upper growth trend and continues to be a destination of choice for investors. With adequate legislation, the region has attracted significant investment. Overall investment in Kurdistan has reached 63 billion, out of which close to 20% is foreign direct investment, mostly coming from Turkey, UAE, Lebanon, Egypt, United States, United Kingdom, and other European countries. With our 2006 investment law, one of the most liberal in the Middle East, with tax and import duty exemption, permission to repatriate profit, provision of land, and right to own land, and the right to bring in labor. We have approved that we value commerce. And with many consulates in Erbil, we have proved that we value connection with the world. Just as a note, of 35 consulates in Erbil, 18, which around 50%, are from Europe. For Kurdistan today, as it has been for Europe for ages, we value infrastructure because it will raise the well-being of our population and connect us to the world. The Board of the Investment has recently prepared an investment roadmap that has highlighted many investment opportunities, and head of this board, my honorable friend Dr. Mohammed Shukri, is here with us and can elaborate further on what are the potential and opportunities in investing in Kurdistan region. Secondly, in terms of public investment, over 1,000 multi-year projects are ongoing at a total cost of $3 billion that the KRG covers from the capital budgets. And we are injecting more than $400 million annually, despite the financial constraint that we had faced throughout the years. Construction has not stopped. But, ladies and gentlemen, the demand in infrastructure in the KRI is much greater than what the government is supplying. Because of this realization, we wish to fill this gap with private financing, and more specifically through the public-private partnership. As one of the mandates of the Ministry of the Planning over the past 2 years, we have taken some major steps. In 2020, we introduced a PPP framework, followed by a PPP bylaw in 2021 and a PPP regulation in the same year. As we set the legal environment for PPP, we are now engaged with the government entities in creating a pipeline of public-private partnership projects, and we do so with the help of our international partner and more specifically with IFC. It's our top priority to attract foreign investors for our PPP portfolio, and more specifically British companies. Although the legal environment has been set based on the best international standards, we appreciate that there remains some element of risk in this new endeavor. This is why our government is willing to provide extra security, specifically for British investors and businesses. When unforeseen circumstances occur, we are willing to absorb this shock as much as possible, as we value our friendship more than anything else. The potential projects for PPP are from various sectors, such as energy, and more specifically gas flaring, to transport, ICT, water management, and health, to name few but many. Although infrastructure is a wise investment, there is room for caution. It's possible to overinvest in and to build wasteful infrastructure while creating employment. It can channel money away from higher value needs. And this brings me on my third and final point, and that's investing in financial service and ICT. KRI Financial Services is in an embryonic stage, which gives many opportunities and potential for investing in banking and financial services. We are in the right place to seek and invite your financial institution to visit Kurdistan region and explore the market there, and I can speak on behalf of the entire cabinet of the Kurdistan region government that we will be committed to work with you closely in this regard. And we have pleasure of having the governor of Iraq's central bank with us today that can enlighten us on the opportunities. Considering the importance of the ICT and a broadband in particular for economic modernization and trade, we aim to invest more, improve performance and regional interconnection, and reduce the cost of international communications. In this regard, British ICT investors are invited to tap on the opportunity to place their capitals in Kurdistan as an ideal platform for more interconnectivity in the Middle East. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Kurdistan region, we have been part of the long arc of history. We sit a geographical crossroad. We are a gateway of our neighbors, east and west, north and south. We hope in this modern time to learn and listen from the past to create our better future. History tells us that after our darkest hours, commerce, investment, and above all, developments can make a huge difference in making the world a better place. We in Kurdistan region bring before you a good political, social, and economic story that has survived decades of instability in our region, and the most recent events of ISIS insurgency being yet another test for our government and society. However, our progress will not change pace, as we need to build on all recent gains, and we invite you to come to our region so we both can benefit from the wealth of opportunity that exists. And thank you for your attention. Thank you.
And for our next speaker, excuse me, and for our next speaker, please welcome the Chief Executive of UK Export Finance, Mr. Lewis Taylor.
Well, Your Excellencies, Ministers, Lord Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, it is a real pleasure to be here. Many thanks to the IBBC for inviting me, and it's great to see so many people here in person. So my name is Louis Taylor. I'm Chief Executive of UK Export Finance, UKEF, the world's oldest export credit agency, and the best. I've been asked, for those of you who don't know, to quickly tell you who we are and what we do. I've been told that some people think that UKEF is a bank and that we only offer loans, but we're so much more than that. We help exporters and international buyers access finance and insurance when the private sector doesn't have the capacity or the risk appetite to do so. We don't compete with the private sector. If there's liquidity in the market without our assistance and UKEF isn't needed, that's fine. But it is true that a big part of our offer is direct lending to overseas projects to help them buy UK goods and services using long-term financing at attractive rates. We also provide guarantees, encouraging commercial lenders to step in by lending their money with our guarantee. And we offer insurance, making sure our exporters are protected from default risk. So whether you're an overseas buyer, you're a lender, or an exporter, we reduce the risk of your trading, and we share our expertise and experience, and we use every tool we have to create a stable environment for you to do business abroad or with the UK. And it's that stability that I want to focus on briefly today. Indeed, export credit agencies really come into their own when there is instability, when access to finance is constrained during downturns. We act as a shock absorber for global cycles. And as you can imagine, over the last 2 years, we've been pretty busy. So when the COVID lockdown started and trade began to slow down, we stepped in and we provided £12.3 billion of financial support last year, the most in almost 30 years. And by retaining our risk appetite when others fell away, we created stability in a world of uncertainty. We helped to make sure that those hardest hit, the industries hardest hit, stayed afloat. But whatever the economic conditions, our mission remains the same, that no viable UK export should fail for lack of finance from the private sector. And that mission extends to hundreds of countries across the world where we currently operate, and Iraq is one of them. Iraq's a country where we are truly invested in helping to deliver that stability I talked about before. Over the last 5 years, we provided £1.5 billion in support there, including for many genuinely transformational projects. In 2019, we provided £770 million in support of GE and Enka to build 2 new power stations at Samawa and Dikar, and to build and refurbish 14 electricity substations in the Basra region. Think of the stability that reliable energy is bringing to lives and to businesses blighted by supply interruptions. Baghdad can be blighted by such power interruptions too, so we are delighted that the provision of €30.2 million in support of Siemens UK helped to refurbish the Al Musaib power station around Baghdad and supply electricity to the city's residents. Then there's the need for clean water. And through a $35 million loan to the Kurdistan regional government, we financed the development phase of a water project to provide wastewater solutions to the cities of Erbil and Suleimani. Now we're working with other UK contractors and the Ministry of Finance in Baghdad and southern Iraq to finalise the provision of a range of water and irrigation services to more than 100,000 people. So what's in all of this for UK export finance? Well, look, as well as the benefits in Iraq in terms of development and stability, it all creates jobs, growth and stability in the UK too. Any project we support, of course, has to have some element of UK content in its supply chain. Take the Samawa and Dikar oil power projects. 339 UK suppliers bid to be involved. Nearly a third came to a supplier fair that we held for that project, and in the end, 60 were awarded contracts, resulting in £275 million of content from across the UK. Pumps from Preston, cables from Milton Keynes, rooftops from Reading. But don't mistake this for a reliance solely on UK companies, because we work closely with other export credit agencies from around the world to offset our own risks and to open the doors to suppliers from other countries so that your projects can get the best of everything from everywhere, not only from the UK. Indeed, through our provision to a grid stability project in Baghdad, we partnered with Switzerland, Turkey, and the UAE's export credit agencies to enable their exports. So what does the future hold? Well, if we're talking about global stability, a big threat coming down the track is obviously climate change. As Iraq knows, a warmer world means higher temperatures, droughts, more sand and dust storms, all massive barriers to progress. And as a result of the dangers we face, since last year, the UK government will no longer support the fossil fuel energy sector overseas. Our support will instead be aligned with clean energy exports. We have a strong record in tackling climate change globally, believe this can go hand in hand with our trading ambitions with Iraq. Of course, we can and want to support grid stabilization and enhancement, knowing how valuable and vital that is to your energy security. But rather than supporting oil and gas projects, instead we're looking ahead to the exciting opportunities that our policy shift brings. Iraq has a big ambition to reach 12 gigawatts of solar capacity by 2030, and we want to help this government to meet that pledge. It's not just about saving the planet, but about creating that stability I talked about through diversifying the economy and providing the infrastructure Iraq needs. It's a challenge. The current solar capacity is very low, but the technology to store energy generated from solar is still being developed, but the opportunities there are huge. Solar farms are cheaper, faster, and safer to build and maintain than oil and gas plants. And again, we've got experience. Last year, we became the biggest risk taker on the largest solar project in Turkey. Before that, we guaranteed over £47 million of financing guarantees to Solar Century to build 2 of Spain's largest solar plants. Shifting to solar makes sense, and UKEF plus the UK's growing solar supply chain are perfect partners in that endeavour. So we have 3 asks. As we go forward, just 3 asks. First, we want to bring in more partners. That means more banks and more people to invest alongside us. We can be flexible with our support and find a structure that fits you. We're willing to work together to do it. Second, to the Iraqi government, with whom we've worked so well to understand their priorities for using UKEF's capacity in Iraq, we want to take that to the next level and working together better so your prospects, or projects rather, are delivered faster. And we're already seeing how this can break the log jams with water treatment projects in southern Iraq. The government has overcome a lot of the obstacles and companies are now lining up with the financing plans in place. So let's keep talking to unlock the potential, and let's make use of the £1 billion of capacity that UKEF still has available to support projects in Iraq. The third big ask, UK Export Finance is ready to travel. We will visit ministries in Baghdad and projects across Iraq to resolve issues and to negotiate loan agreements. So please, please use us. We're with you in the good times and the bad, and when Iraq's economy contracted in 2020, we were there, and now when it's set to grow this year by 9.5%, we're still there. That's why we're now talking to the Iraqi government and hope to sign a new memorandum of understanding with them to enhance our cooperation, particularly around grid. So with a strong emphasis on that and growing renewable energy, this agreement will help us to support Iraq's ambitions. So our message is clear. If you're a bank, we can get you cash or guarantees. If you're a buyer, we can get you the supplies that you need. If you're the government, we want to have and help you develop further our relationship with you. If you're an exporter or you want to be an exporter, whether large or small, we want to work with you. Iraq is on a really, really exciting journey. The optimism we've just heard in relation to the cities of Kirkuk and the region of Kurdistan are very much on our minds. We and so many others want to join you and create stability and a brighter future for us all. So thank you very much indeed, and have a great conference today.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Fiona Grant, the head of Iraq and the Arab Peninsula Depot from the Foreign and Commonwealth and Diplomatic Office. Thank you.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, good morning. I'm Fiona Grant, and I'd like to offer some brief welcoming remarks on behalf of the UK Government's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. Today's conference is a welcome opportunity to discuss both the opportunities and challenges for UK businesses in Iraq. I'm looking forward to hearing from speakers on banking sector reform, project finance, the energy transition, and education and skills. UK businesses are well placed to support Iraq with expertise in all these areas. And we have an excellent trade team in Iraq, located at both our embassy in Baghdad and our Consulate General in Erbil. Our team are experts in facilitating partnerships, and some of them are in the room today, and I hope you will have the chance to meet some of them. I'm glad we've just heard from UK Export Finance, who not only provide sustainable finance for international trade, but also promote high standards of governance through their rigorous due diligence requirements. The government of Iraq, through its white paper, has set out a clear vision to meet Iraq's economic challenges. A stronger private sector is at the heart of that vision. A dynamic private sector will help provide necessary jobs for the young growing population. It will also increase Iraq's resilience and lessen reliance on the oil economy. Strengthening the private sector and much needed economic reform requires hard choices, and some of those choices need to be made now. The UK is committed to a long-term strategic partnership with Iraq, and we have been amongst the strongest international supporters of economic reform efforts. In 2020, we set up the Iraq Economic Contact Group, and we have convened the G7 and international financial institutions to promote Iraq's economy and the reform agenda. We continue to provide technical and financial assistance to the government of Iraq to tackle its reform challenges. Banking sector reform and strengthening will be key to enabling domestic and foreign investment in Iraq. In July last year, the UK Chancellor set out the UK's government for an open, green and technologically advanced financial services sector. Standard Chartered is already active in areas such as green finance and of course is active in Iraq. UK companies are world leaders in the sector and are well placed to support Iraq in developing its banking infrastructure. Green finance leads me to energy transition. The dangers of economic overdependence on oil and the urgency of climate adaptation and mitigation are well understood. UK companies can share world-leading skills, products and services in this area. Iraq has already begun its transition. At Glasgow last year, the government of Iraq set out its nationally determined contribution and committed to cut greenhouse gases. Iraq aims to raise the share of clean energy in electricity generation to 20 to 25% by 2030. Gas capture and green energy will be key, and again, the UK can support Iraq. We will hear more today from GE and BP, and we are talking to UK renewables companies who are keen to enter the Iraqi market. Creating a more reliable and robust energy network, both in terms of electricity production and distribution, will allow businesses to thrive. The UK, through its work with the World Bank, is providing support to Iraq to improve its electricity infrastructure and address this issue. The UK is also pleased to be supporting Iraq's efforts on water governance, drought preparedness, and risk reduction. When we talk about unleashing Iraq's potential, we naturally think of Iraq's youth. A growing number of UK schools are operating overseas campuses in Iraq, for example, Sterling Education. City and Guilds, a world-leading vocational education provider, works with governments, organisations and businesses. In the Kurdistan region, the University of London is looking to provide UK degree programmes. Our Consulate General in Erbil is leading the effort with all stakeholders to deliver this important project. So what next? There is strong demand in Iraq for the UK private sector and strong commitment on the UK side to provide it. However, the barriers to investment remain very real. Iraq continues to sit towards the bottom of the ease of doing business tables. Processes need to move more quickly if businesses are to flourish. Tackling corruption and awarding contracts based on merit will deliver long-term change and investment in Iraq. Turning to the political sphere, 7 months have now passed since Iraq's elections. A caretaker government remains in place while political leaders negotiate on the formation of a new government. Only a fully empowered government can tackle the major challenges Iraq faces and drive forward Iraq's economic transformation. The UK is committed to a long-term strategic partnership with Iraq, and the UK private sector has an important role to play in delivering much of this agenda. We at the Foreign Office, in our embassy in Baghdad and through our Consulate General in Erbil, look forward to strengthening that partnership. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please once again show your appreciation for all our delegates here on the... Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we break for our coffee, after the coffee break, we have a women's group on the round table. So please, those that attended that, please go to the South Drawing Room. I'll remind you a bit later. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, coffee is now served.